Welcome, everyone, to CFC 101. My name is Robin Neal, Vice President of Client Engagement of America's Charities, a participating nonprofit federation in the CFC. I am also board chair of the CFC Foundation. The CFC Foundation is a nonprofit whose mission is to support and promote the CFC. We are thrilled to have been able to bring this training to you, working in partnership with OPM. This training is geared to all who support the program, including federal employees, volunteers, and nonprofits. On behalf of the board, we are really glad to have you here today. CFC 101 will cover a high-level overview of the CFC program. Some of the key points of today's presentation will include: what is the CFC and its history, campaign governance and oversight, giving over the years and the benefits of participation in the CFC. Then, as we explore the structure of the CFC, introducing you to the two outreach coordinators who will explain what they do and what their areas of coverage are for supporting the CFC in your area, or in some cases nationwide. Finally, we will give an example of building program awareness and close with a federal employee's personal story and how CFC has impacted her and her daughter's life. As we get started, we'd like all of you joining us today to put some information in the chat. Your name, your role as a stakeholder. Are you a charity? Are you a federal employee or a member of an outreach coordinator team? Please include where you're joining from and how many years of CFC experience you have. For example, I'm Robin Neal from Chantilly, Virginia. I'm a participating nonprofit, and I've been working with the CFC for 22 years. Please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat, and our OCs will do their best to answer questions as you have them via the chat. Now I would like to turn the presentation over to Larry Heisel, Executive Director for Greater Kansas City Federal Executive Board and Heartland CFC LFCC member, who has been part of the CFC for a few decades now, to discuss the CFC, its history, governance, and benefits of participation. Over to you, Larry.
Thank you, Robin. A few decades now. Wow. You can tell by my graying hair, but good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Glad that you're able to join us today. So I'm going to give a little bit of a history lesson to begin with. So back in the beginning, back before 1961, you may have someone coming up to your desk if you're a federal employee and saying, Angela, would you like to give to the Children's Hospital today? Daryl, would you like to give to the Boy Scouts? Would you like to give to Red Cross? Would you like to give to Salvation Army? All these are wonderful programs. And however, I mean, it was kind of a chaos as far as everyone had their own favorite agencies they wanted to promote those. They wanted to share. They wanted to give back. So in 1961, kind of with the same momentum that President Kennedy came in with, ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. The federal government created the CFC through executive order to coordinate these fundraising efforts of the various charitable organizations, making this a long-standing federal tradition that we can be proud to support. The objectives of the CFC are really to lessen the burdens of the government and of local communities in meeting the needs of human health and welfare. Since its inception, federal employees have contributed more than $8.7 billion to charities throughout the CFC. CFC is only authorized solicitation for all federal employees now in their workplaces. That includes postal employees, active duty military, and retirees on behalf of the charitable organizations. The CFC program operates from September 1st through January 15th each year. And the mission is quite simple, is to support and promote philanthropy through a voluntary program that is employee-focused, cost-efficient, and effective in providing all federal employees the opportunity to improve the life for all. So if we go to slide number 3, please. I'm not sure who's running the slides. Okay, we just went through that. So we'll go to slide number 4. So what, oversight of the CFC. So the combined federal campaign regulations govern all aspects of the CFC. Executive orders 12-353 and 12-404 Authorize the Office of Personnel Management to prescribe rules and regulations to facilitate fundraising on behalf of charitable organizations through the on-the-job solicitation of federal employees and military personnel, and to ensure that recipient agencies are responsible in the use of the funds. One key difference to the CFC and other workplace giving campaigns is the opportunity to contribute to not only local, but national, international agencies of your choice. You're going to hear more about that in the future. But if if you have some light reading, you need to get to sleep at night, you can find those CFC regulations. You can find those under Title 5, Part 950 of the Code of Federal Regulations. So will be a link that you can find in the chat box, but these are maintained at most regional and university libraries. You can, of course, obviously Google that. But again, the key thing of that is CFC is part of a federal mandate. So we go to the next slide, please. CFC is organized by zone. So each zone has a local federal coordinating committee and an outreach coordinator assigned to it. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about the LFCCs. We like our acronyms, so LFCCs and OCs in just a few minutes. Here you can see a map of the 36 local CFC zones. If you're not sure what zone you're in, please visit givecfc.org, and we'll drop that in the chat box as well. And search for your zone using the zone locator on your homepage. Why is it important for the zones? Well, the zones are instrumental in not only providing manpower behind the campaign, but also trying to find those local charities within those zones in order for federal employees to give back to. So if you go to the next slide, please. So really by the numbers, federal employee giving makes CFC the largest and most successful workplace philanthropic fundraiser in the world. Since its inception, as stated back in, federal employees contributed more than $8.7 billion to charity through CFC. Continuing a long tradition, more than federal employees, postal workers, and members of the uniformed services pledged more than $72.6 million to charitable causes last year. Of this, $70 million of it were monetary contributions. However, the CFC also tracks the employee pledging volunteer hours, which included another $2.1 million. So the total included civilian, military, retiree, and annuity contributions of more than 4.2 million of the 2022 number, a 13.6% increase over retiree given in 2021. So even when you retire, you still have opportunity to support your favorite charity through CFC. Retirees now make up almost 6% of the overall donation. So again, if you're the champion within your workplace, don't forget about those folks that have recently retired. Don't forget about your organizations that work with them. So these amounts don't include some of the special solicitations that might happen throughout the past year. Last year, more than $670,000 was pledged to special solicitations related to the war in Ukraine. So, and finally, more than 5,000 nonprofits participated in the 2022 CFC campaign. So we can go to the next slide, please. So now let's take a dive to understand the campaign structures and roles. Having a strong network of volunteers serving these roles sets each zone up for success. So we look at the top is the LFCC, or Local Federal Coordinating Committees. Each of the 36 CFC zones is governed by a LFCC, which serves as a board of directors for the campaign zone. All these members are comprising of federal employees. Could be agency heads, could be mid-career, could be people who are just now starting with the government. We want to include a broad base of all federal employees to be part of this, to kind of make sure that it is understood that this is a campaign for the complete workforce. The CFC also has three contractors that administer the campaign. The back of the house support services are provided by the Central Campaign Administrator. The CCA maintains the National CFC online giving system. They also receive the pledges and distribute funds to the charities. Federal employees with questions about their pledge or charities with questions about their application can be directed directly to the CCA, and we'll drop that information, and it was just dropped in the chat box as well. So you can contact them directly if you have questions as far as your pledge from last year, or if the charities have a question as well. The front of the house services provided by the Outreach Coordinator, or OC. The CFC has two contractors who serve as outreach coordinators for the annual CFC campaign, MP May and Tribal Tech. Now we're going to hear more from them later about their roles and the support they provide as the contractors to the OPM responsible for providing local and national services. Now, to explain your local structure, I'd like to introduce Jen Howard. Jen is the Chief Operating Officer for MP May Incorporated and one of our outreach coordinators. So Jen, take it away.
All right, thanks, Larry. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Larry. It's so great to be back at the table with you, helping with CFC 101. As Larry mentioned, each zone is set for success when it has a strong network of volunteers to operate the campaign each fall. The next three roles on this screen that you see are assigned annually by federal agency leadership, and they typically serve CFC from about August through January. Just so you understand, these are annual positions that are determined, and the time frame that they serve, August through January. We understand that this is above and beyond your guys' roles as public servants to the agencies you serve. So we really appreciate all of you here today who served as an LE, a coordinator, or a key worker. In fact, if you have served as one of those, maybe drop it in the chat, which role you've served in and how many years you've been serving as those. So loaned executives are a federal employee who is loaned or detailed to the campaign to work for the CFC for a specific amount of time. And this can be full-time, part-time. Typically they onboard prior to coordinators, July, August, and are with us through January timeframe. The LE program is heavily used in some zones and underutilized in others. We do see great success when a zone has an active LE program. So if you're interested in learning more about the Loaned Executive Program, please attend that session, LE Recruitment, that's being held on July 27th. These next two roles are critical to the mission of the CFC, ensuring every employee is educated about the CFC and invited to participate. These roles are established again at the agency level and within the local zone each year. So sometimes people will serve as a coordinator or a key worker for multiple years. Sometimes they're brand new. We do love succession planning and continuity. So if you're in this role and you know it's not permanent, make sure you're taking great notes and passing on that information to the person that'll serve behind you. It's really important that your employees know who you are as a coordinator, and that, building a team at your agency or installation, that is your foundation for success. So the campaign coordinator specifically develops a plan to communicate about CFC, recruits committees, whether it's a planning committee for events or communication committee. All of these things really depend on the size of your agency. For smaller agencies, we understand that your team is smaller and has a little bit less of a lift, whereas bigger agencies, 200 or more employees, installations and such, have a much bigger team that they have to assemble. And now is the time to be assembling your team. So coordinators, if you leadership or coordinators or any of the federal volunteers here today, if you don't know who your coordinator is at this point, please work with your leadership to ensure that person is identified, because I know that as an outreach coordinator, and Victoria, who I'll turn it over to here in just a second, we are in the recruitment phase and getting ready for training. So now is the time to identify your 2023 coordinators. Key workers, again, are kind of what they call boots on the ground, if you will. This is when you have large agencies. Typically, we have a key worker, one for every 30 employees. So, for example, if you have an office of 300 people, you're probably going to want a team of about 10 key workers to support making the ask. And it's really important to recognize, I think it's one of the most beautiful things about this program, is $8.7 billion raised. That's one peer, one federal employee, one colleague inviting another colleague to participate, one ask at a time. So it is really important that you have a team to support you. So again, get your teams identified for 2023. You need to provide those names to your local outreach coordinator. We're going to look at a map here in a few minutes so you can see that CFC map and how it's backed into by the two contractors, Tribal Tech and us, MP May, to support you in providing your materials and your training and all of the things. So get your coordinators over to your outreach coordinators so that we can get them ready for this fall. Circling back to Larry's key point, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. To Larry's point about key contractors for the CFC, here you will see the three contractors he mentioned. So back of the house, again, TASK, the Central Campaign Administrator, as mentioned, they maintain the national CFC online giving system. They receive pledges, they distribute funds to charities, and they also host the charity application portal where charities apply to participate in the CFC, they download their pledge reports and more. So again, donors, charities, if you have questions about these functions, you need to contact the CCA directly. As an outreach coordinator, that is not something that I can support you with. You'll have to go through the contractor, the Central Campaign Administrator, and that information was in the chat, so you should be able to find it there. Front of the house, MP May, Tribal Tech, Global Impact. We hold both local and nationwide contracts. So the next couple of slides we're going to talk about, it's just a brief introduction from us and the different respective contracts that we're responsible for. Next slide, please. So MP May, as Larry mentioned, I am the Chief Operating Officer for MP May. We have over 30 years of experience providing nonprofit support services to CFC charities, in addition to a team of people that bring really exceptional top-level support, knowledge, skills, abilities around the CFC. I lost track of the years that people on our team have been involved. I know I myself have been involved with CFC for 18 years now. So we've got a long history of knowledge that has evolved over the years with, nothing more stable than change. But MP May, Mike May, who is probably in the room somewhere with me, he and we operate both 21 local zone service contracts as well as the National Charity Recruitment Contract. So the National Charity Recruitment Contract that's tasked with recruiting charities and supporting charities in their endeavors of participating in the CFC, that is nationwide, it's global. And then our local zone services, 21 zones, is what we were tasked with for this fall. And again, you'll see a map here in just a moment. But before we get to that, I want to introduce a dear friend of mine. And while we are both contractors and kind of in competition, not really, we work so well together, leading Tribal Tech, Global Impact with us here today, Victoria Adams. It's wonderful to be here with you. I think you've been at this table just as long, if not longer than I have, 18 plus years. And so I will turn it over to you to discuss Tribal Tech and the contracts that you guys operate for the CFC currently. So over to you, Victoria.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate that. And can we have the next slide, please? So we are talking about your outreach coordinators. And so for our outreach coordinator services, we are in a partnership. So we are partnered between Tribal Tech, LLC, and Global Impact. And I hope either one of those names are familiar to you. Tribal Tech is a Native American woman-owned small business, and Global Impact is a nonprofit federation that's been around since the inauguration of this campaign, so 60 plus years in the business. The partnership has been strong for about 7 years and is still going strong. We have a nice team of staff who support all of the contracts that we hold. And so we do have, as Jen, we provide local zone outreach services to the country. We have 15 zones, mostly on the East Coast, and then California, Hawaii, and we also serve CFC overseas. So that's all of the Department of Defense personnel who are stationed overseas. One of those zones, of course, is the NCA zone, which is the largest zone. And that zone is particularly important, not only because of the size of the money, which we all know is there, it's NCA, so we know it, but it's important because it holds the headquarter agencies. And so we're really trying to drive messaging from headquarter agencies to try to support the campaign throughout the country, to help with recruitment throughout the country, to help with events throughout the country, and working very closely with MPMA to try to make the campaign as successful as possible. We also provide we're the inaugural National Marketing OC as well. And so we've been doing that job for about 7 years. So the campaign materials that you see are created by the National Marketing OC. That includes not only the materials such as the charity listing and the posters that you see, but if you go to givecfc.org and you look at the materials there, so the charity recruitment materials that are there, the charity page that's there, we've created those materials and hope they're very useful for you. You go to the training page, we've created national training products for your use as well. So we really encourage you to access the resources that are available to you. Go to givecfc.org, make sure that you're accessing and using those resources. A lot of time and effort and research went into what materials are going to help the campaign be as successful as possible. And then we also are new in 2022 with a new contract. And so that was Common Core Support Services. So we provide a help desk service nationwide. We provide a CRM system nationwide and an event management system nationwide. And you'll hear more about each of those a little bit later in the training throughout the week and throughout the following week, 2 weeks from now. So there'll be different sessions where you have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about those as well. Next slide. This slide is a fun one because it provides you with a viewing so you can see how the country is kind of split up and how we ensure that services are provided from both of the local zone OCs. So the green on the map is MPMA services are provided in those areas. I prepared the map this way in hopes I could have put the numbers right, zone 2, zone 22, zone 19. But I thought, I'm not sure that everyone knows what zone they're in, but you definitely know where you live. So I color coded it just using the states and hoping you find it useful in determining, identifying where you live and which color is there. And that will help you identify which local zone OC you should and could be contacting. And in particular on this one, you see the green there. That means that's MPMA services. The darker blue is Travel Tech and Global Impact Services. And then if you kind of see the state of Florida, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, those zones are actually split. Those states are actually split between 2 zones. And so in the state of Florida, MPMA services the northern part of Florida and the southern part of Georgia. And then another zone is in that southern part of Florida and Puerto Rico, which is the sunshine. And so it's just the way the zones are split, the way the OPM has the zone splits and assigned to different OC contractors. So that's why you see a little bit different color there. But otherwise, you should be able to easily identify where you're at and who your local zone outreach coordinator is. And next slide. So you are here and you're receiving a lot of information yesterday, today, and on throughout the following week, and then also in the last week of July. You're going to have some questions, we're guessing. So we've provided you with your key contractor contacts there. Of course, OPM's email is there. If you have general questions, you're not getting the answers you need, you can't find the answers on givecfc.org, please reach out and you can send an email to cfc@opm.gov. Task, if there's questions on pledges, what happened to my pledge? Why aren't I getting my money? You're a charity, why aren't I getting money? You say I got it, send me a pledge report, I logged in, I should have so many pledges there, it's not coming in. You can start, with support at cfccharities.org with task. And then you've got the local contact information for MPMA and also for Travel Tech and Global Impact. So there's all the email contacts you should need. And again, really access resources. A lot of work has gone into trying to support the campaign and make it as successful as possible. Please visit givecfc.org. There are different pages for different stakeholders, and the information you need should be there. And if not, we are definitely here to support you. So Jim, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Victoria.
There's a hand raised there. I see Robert Jennings' hand.
Of course, I got a microphone. I got to chip in. So what's missing here is how the CFC Foundation fits in all of this. Could anybody talk to that? Because some people think that the CFC Foundation and OPM are one and the same thing, and we are definitely not.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, the CFC Foundation is a group of stakeholders such as Federation, charity members, and other stakeholders from across the country involved, invested in the CFC, federal employees like yourself, Robert, who participate and give their time to support initiatives like this training. This training is brought to you by the CFC Foundation. So it's a working group of stakeholders that are committed to the success of the CFC and support things again like this training. So that was literally off the cuff 101 explanation. Hopefully that, Victoria, anything to add to the foundation comments?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would love if somebody knew when the CFC Foundation was founded. That would be really interesting to drop into the chat. I think Jen mentioned it's charities, it's federations, it's LFCC members, it's outreach coordinators, and they've been around for a while, and they're independent. They are, I believe, a 501c3. I think we are
a 501c3.
Yeah,
sorry, Victoria, I'm going to chime in. And our mission is to support and promote the campaign and figure out ways to work with all the various stakeholders to make it even stronger.
Thank you, Robin. And Robin serves as the chair of the foundation this year. So Robin, thanks for all you're doing.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So we want to take a moment here. We've given you a lot of nuts and bolts and understanding of the operations of the CFC and talk about why CFC. Everyone here is here today because you play some role in supporting, promoting, educating, inviting colleagues to participate in the combined federal campaign. And so knowing your why and the benefits of this program are so critical to just that starting point of why do you give through the CFC? Why should I give through the CFC? Questions that you're going to get in your roles throughout the campaign season or any number of seasons that you serve and volunteer. So we want to just give you a few talking points to consider as you embark upon this important role this fall. I often think about the 3 C's of fundraising: choice, convenience, and confidence. And as responsible stakeholders of the CFC, it's important that we understand these benefits of participating so that we can easily educate our peers. Some of the talking points for you guys to kind of put in your pocket and think about as you prepare for your role this fall. Payroll deduction is convenient. Donors are able to give a small amount over a long period of time that has a tremendous collective impact. I think the number was somewhere around 79 million last year alone, 8.7 billion since its inception. That collective impact is huge, and the benefits of it truly are unrealized, the lives and the communities that are impacted. The centralized CFC giving site is a secure site that has many features, such as the ability to choose multiple charities. You can give via credit card, payroll deduction. You can give via a bank transfer. There's lots of different ways to give. So having an account set up at cfcgiving.opm.gov is it's the centralized site. It's first of its class, and lots of other public sector campaigns out there are actually looking at it and trying to figure out how they can create such an incredibly secure, safe, and efficient way of centralizing your giving. So it is definitely state of the art. Another talking point would be funds raised through the CFC are unrestricted to our charities. So charities have to go out and they have to write grants, and then they receive funding, and then they have to demonstrate that they did what they said they were going to do with that grant received. The CFC contributions are unrestricted to them, meaning they can take those dollars and meet the unforeseen needs of a community, natural disasters, or different things that can happen. I don't want to put too many of those ideas out there. You know what I'm saying. So the fact that they're unrestricted and they can actually meet the unforeseen needs of a community are huge to them. So plus it provides our charities with a budget, a report that shows them what they can expect to receive, you know, allowing them to plan, implement, and truly move their missions forward. If you were waiting for somebody to come down and write a one-time check to your organization, it'd be really hard to plan or budget around something that hasn't been realized. So when they know that through payroll deduction, a little bit is going to be coming to them over the course of the year collectively, that is a lot. And it's really important to remember that charities can take our dollar and really maximize the value of that dollar, and that they get kind of wholesale direct buy rates. You know, we can take a case of water down to the corner here in response to a disaster that's happened. But if I give that organization the $5 it costs me for that case of water, they're likely able to provide 5 cases because they can maximize the value of our dollar. So there's lots of reasons why giving through the CFC, payroll deduction, multiple charities, over 5,000 to choose from, collective impact that you guys make as federal employees, and the planning and preparation and the you know, commitment that charities have when they know they can count on your contributions to come through. The CFC is the most efficient and effective workplace giving campaign in the world. And so knowing these benefits, of course, is very important, especially as we all work together to promote the campaign this fall. So next slide, please. Now that we've talked about some of the reasons why, let's pause and remember the mission of how we accomplish it together. The mission of the CFC is to promote and to support and promote philanthropy through a voluntary program that is employee focused, cost efficient, and effective in providing all employees the opportunity to improve the quality of life for all. And how is this accomplished? One person inviting another person to learn and hopefully participate in their combined federal campaign. The number one reason people don't give, feel free to drop your answer into the chat. I'll pause right there. And if you guys think you know why people don't give, feel free to drop into the chat why they might not. Perfect. I see that. Catherine, yep, exactly. Beth, yep. Number one reason, they were not asked. So as a volunteer, as a advocate for the CFC, it is our responsibility, it is federal employees' responsibility specifically to invite their colleagues to give. So, you know, number one reason, nobody asked them. The number one reason people do give, somebody they trust asked them to give. So remembering that how we communicate, how we make this ask, personalizing it is so important to you know, the outcome of our success with this campaign. So be thinking about your ask and why the CFC is important to you. Again, the CFC has generated $8.7 billion since its inception. And, you know, there's no better ask than the personalized ask, where we humanize and even become a little bit vulnerable with our colleagues around why it matters to us. And so I'm super excited. We're going to close out today's session with a personal story. Next slide, please. A personal story from a federal employee, not just a federal employee, but a true champion of the CFC. Jen Ward is with us today. Jen, I met her formerly in Alaska. She was an Alaska LFCC member, eventually traded in her shovel for a pool stick. She's now down in Arizona serving with the Desert Southwest CFC. Jen Ward was in the military prior to becoming a federal employee with National Weather Service and now Department of the Interior, Office of the Solicitor. Jen, you are such a true champion, and we're so grateful that you're here today to share your personal story. And just like many, you know, how so many people, many of us, how your family has benefited from a CFC charity. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen Ward to share her favorite cause and her personal story with each of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of us have been touched by a charity or participated in donations to a charity. We all have our story. Most of us do. About 15 years ago, we saw a spotlight on pets on the news, like most news channels do, and we saw Kool-Aid. And we were living in an apartment where we couldn't have pets, but because of my daughter's mental health, we were able to, at the time, get a letter that he was going to be an emotional support animal and adopt Kool-Aid. Little did I know that my daughter had depression and anxiety at the time. So he became a huge part of her life and ours. And the support he provided her was just absolutely immeasurable. So it was really important that as I've been touched by charities and have my personal stories of the charities I've been touched by, that I researched the charities and I donated to this charity where we got Kool-Aid from. And it was just a huge support for our family. So I couldn't have appreciated CFC more or helped more donations come to animals than by sharing my own story, which is really important, that as a key worker or coordinator, that you have a story to share, whether it be yours or someone else's, that you have a way of emphasizing why CFC is so important. So thank you for the opportunity and take care.
Thanks, Jen. I really appreciate that. You know, it's such an incredible situation when you find yourself with a room full of federal employees, whether we're in trainings or hosting events, and you guys start talking and you start sharing these stories with each other, and then you realize, you know, we're all a lot more alike than we are different, and it's pretty, you know, likely that life has shown up on all of our doorsteps. So if it hasn't shown up on your doorstep, just wait. I promise you it's coming. And when it does, there will be a CFC charity standing right behind it, ready to support you, just like they were for Jen and her daughter and having Kool-Aid. So Jen, thank you for all you do for CFC, from Alaska to Arizona and nationwide, being here today. We are so grateful. You are truly a CFC hero for this program. So thank you. So that said, I want to first thank everyone here. We're going to turn it open for some Q&A and take some questions. I know this was a really fast, furious session on CFC 101, very high level. As Victoria and I mentioned, you have outreach coordinators, you have OPM, you have lots of resources to get your questions asked and answered. And we're going to open it up for just a few minutes here for some Q&As. So if you do have questions, feel free to either drop them in the chat or throw your hand up. But most importantly, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone, whether you are with OPM, the foundation, you're a charity here today, federal volunteer, and another outreach coordinator or part of my team. This work is only possible because of each one of us. And I'm so grateful to work alongside all of you. Thank you for what you do for our country and for the important role that you play with the CFC, the work that you're about to embark upon this fall. Countless lives, charities, communities will be left better because of the effort you provide to the CFC this fall. So thank you all for being here. And we can turn it open for Q&A if there are any questions from the group. All right, looks like Margaret Flowers has her hand up. Margaret?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Due to the pandemic, they changed it from us being able to go to different organizations to set up tables, you know, to give out little gifts or surprises and to specifically talk to the people face to face. Has that changed? Are we going to be able to go out and meet with the people face to face for charity events, or because that was really a big part of bringing in funds. And once the pandemic hit, I mean, we weren't able to do that. And I saw a decrease in our, you know, people giving.
Yeah, Margaret, it was definitely a challenging time for the CFC program and also a time of opportunity. I'm so grateful we had that centralized giving system in place when we did. Had we not, I don't know how we would have managed to have a campaign, to be honest with you, but we had the systems and we all had to learn and pull together and figure out what that looked like. So we did the best we could with virtual events and you know, picking up the phone and making the ask and stuff. But we are excited this fall. There is an emphasis of returning to the workplace. We absolutely respect that we will likely always live in a hybrid model. And working smarter and, you know, our footprint in federal space or space in general. So we will continue to have hybrid opportunities. And we do look forward to many more events to be held in person this fall. And you will learn more about that session. I can't recall exactly if somebody could drop into the chat when the event session is being held. There's 2 sessions every day for a few weeks here. So there is a session specifically on that, Margaret, where they will talk about how to engage and how to participate in events this fall. And again, we do anticipate there being a return to those. So looking forward.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
Carrie Jasper, I see your hand is up.
Thank you so much, Ms. Howard. I'm asking 2 questions. One has already been answered, but first of all, what were your 3 C's?
Perfect. So those are choice, confidence, and convenience. So the choice to give to any of the charities, how you give, payroll, credit card, the confidence in knowing charities are vetted by federal employees to participate. We can trust in that vetting process and know that these charities are legitimate, doing good work charities, and the convenience of payroll deduction and giving through those different means. So there's your 3 C's.
Thank you so much. And the next question is, will the process for participating go through your office or another office? Because usually we got an email that would invite us to an agency, and then we would say yes or no, and then get a response back from that agency if we were to go. Is that same thing going to happen?
Yeah, so what I hear you saying, Carrie, is that you're a nonprofit that's talking about how do you get invited to events. The Tribal Tech Global Impact group that Victoria that presented here a few minutes ago, they are the contractor for the Common Core Services. And I know that really doesn't, it's like, what does that even mean? But Common Core Services includes our event program. So we have a centralized event program with a system that sends invites out. There's communications and follow-up, and you are connected to the agencies that have requested the event to be held in the first place, because it's coordinators that plan and prepare their events, and once they put them in the system does generate invitations. So it should be a pretty similar experience, though we are always looking to improve our experiences, right? So possibly it'll be an even better experience with more opportunities now that we're back in person more. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Any other questions?
Jen, someone had a question on where they can get a recording of this training, and I actually don't know the answer. Maybe Robin does.
Yeah, Robin.
Yeah, it's going to be housed in 2 places. I know that all presentations and recordings are going to be on OMB Max, and they're also going to be housed on the CFC Foundation website. So you'll have different places to access them.
Perfect. Thank you, Robin.
Sure.
Other questions either in the chat? Victoria, did your team see anything that stood out, or did you guys have any final closing comments before we take a break? We have another session coming up at the top of the hour, so.
No, just scrolling through the chat and trying to answer a few as I can. Bruce, thanks for all your help on there. You're fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce.
Sure.
So we're going to leave I believe, Elizabeth can correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to leave the link up. You guys can turn off your cameras, mute your cameras, walk away, take a break. Top of the hour, we have another